Stephen Haggard is professor of Korea-Pacific Studies and director of the Korea-Pacific program at UC San Diego, who joins me live via Skype from California. Stephen, you and I have talked about this so many times before. The situation appears to be a little bit more critical now. If DPRK does go ahead with another possible nuclear test, how do you think the Trump administration will respond? How should they respond?
Well, I actually think we're probably not going to see a test. I hate to make predictions because, of course, Kim Jong-un can do what he wants, and he's been unpredictable in the past. But there are quite substantial set of pressures weighing down on him at the moment, and they're coming not only from the United States, but also from China, which has made very strong statements about the nuclear program recently and has also actually cooperated with President Trump in saying that this problem will get solved.
Trump, of course, has taken a more hardline, confrontational approach. He, in fact, tweeted this week that the U.S. was not afraid of acting alone. I just got to wonder, is this the right kind of strategy?
I think you have to look at this unilateral action statement from a somewhat different lens than the press over the last 48 hours. The emphasis has been on the military side of this, but if you recall some of the discussions at Mar-a-Lago, it looked very much like the next step is going to be sanctions. And China has made some statements about further curtailing North Korea trade. Obviously, Trump was using the trade instrument and trying to get China on board. So even though things look bad, I think there's an opportunity here for cooperation. If China can bring North Korea back to the table, then the pressure will shift to Trump to come to the table.
And you know, Stephen, the past U.S. administrations have not been able to solve the DPRK issues, not with words, not with sanctions. So why not try a whole new strategy, which is what China has been saying? Stop the military drills, the deployment of U.S. warships to the region. Let's stop, the THAAD thing that's going on in the Republic of Korea and coax DPRK back to the negotiating table. Why not give this approach a chance?
Well, I think that's what you've outlined is one half of the approach. And certainly all of the things you said are possible steps which might be taken. But remember, there's a prior and more important thing, which is that North Korea has to show a willingness to come back to the negotiating table. And until we have that, I think Secretary Tillerson is right. There can't be negotiations unless North Korea is there. So I think that both China and the United States have hard things to do. On China's part, the hard thing is to deliver North Korea to the negotiating table. On the U.S. side, it's the concessions that the U.S. might make with respect to exercises, with respect to sanctions, once that negotiation has begun. But we really can't do anything until there are talks. And China's played a pivotal role in that in the past, and I think everyone's hoping they'll do so again.
And China has warned this conflict could break out at any moment. How concerned are you, Stephen, that is there still room for diplomacy here?
Well, China has said that, and if you read the Tillerson comments very closely, he doesn't say that talks are off. He says that it's not appropriate to think about them now, but the operative word is now. And if North Korea can be convinced that it's in its interest to negotiate, then I think that there'll be pressure on the United States to engage in those negotiations. Now the pressure is primarily on Beijing, frankly, which is this is a Chinese ally. Can they be brought to the table?
Of course, China would say, they're not really allies with anyone. They don't want to see a flood of refugees on their border. They don't want to see an unstable DPRK, and they have backed a number of resolutions time after time. Stephen Haggard, thank you so much. As always, a pleasure, sir.